Huh? Hello. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back. And like yesterday, when I finished the classes, I was telling you something about the Q codes. Actually, Q codes are certain codes for certain situations, so which are there regarding certain things. If we speak out those things, they are rather the language part becomes very long. So we cannot be. We have to be very concise and short on RT. So in order to abbreviate such situations, we are going to abbreviate certain situations and give them some certain Q codes. Whenever we speak out the Q code, we know what situation we are talking about. That means the situations arising in RT phraseology are given Q codes for the particular phraseology. We give a particular Q code. This is given by ICAO, and these codes are standard Q codes. In these Q codes, the letter Q has no meaning. It is just a padding character. All the Q codes rather will be recognized by a Q, and later on the other two alphabets in this Q code will rather indicate the phraseology itself. Like yesterday when I discussed QFE with you, I was telling you, actually I was asking you rather yesterday, but nobody seems to give me a reply yesterday, that what would be the what would be the different I had asked you, but nobody gave me a reply, that what will be the actually altimeter reading are of how many types, and how many type of altimeter settings are there. I'd asked you yesterday, I think, but nobody told me. So today, can somebody unmute yourself and tell me can somebody unmute yourself and tell me what will be the altimeter settings, how many type of altimeter settings are there? Can anyone tell me? Altimeter settings are how many types, which you know of? Anybody like must have come across, somebody must have told you sometime. Altimeter settings, altimeter can be set in how many ways? One way, two way, three ways, four ways, how many ways? An altimeter can be set. Yes, an altimeter can be set in how many ways? Somebody has said two ways. Okay, very correct. It can be set in two ways. That is, one is to read the QFE, and obviously the other one is the to for the QNH part. Mr. Lakshmikant, your answer was correct, and I was going through the group in which you had today indicated that you had certain queries regarding the calls for AMEs in the different situations. And first, I'll just to give you a reply to that. I didn't actually give you a message back reply on the group, because I wanted to tell you rather verbally, to the queries, whatever queries you had in those. You said idle power run up of both engines simultaneously one by one, or and the same bay number. So, and then you said request high power run up on an isolated bay. Then you said towing aircraft from domestic stand to international stand, or from one bay to another. Then you said towing of aircraft from one terminal to other terminal, taxi from one terminal to other terminal. These are all the situations you had indicated to me and asked me how the call will go and to whom the call will go. See, in all the cases, one thing is very common. See, whether you are towing the aircraft, that is one movement. Of course, not under its own power. You are not taxiing the aircraft under its own power. You are towing the aircraft, but there is a movement. Whether taxiing with own power or not, it's also taxing, but not with own power. You're towing it or just pulling it with some, maybe using an arrestor hook and a tug to pull the aircraft from one bay to another, or taking the aircraft from one terminal to another, or taking the aircraft to a isolated bay for a high power run up, engine run up, as you said, or maybe a low profile run up, or the, as you said, idle power run up at the bay itself. In all these cases, you must first analyze that whom to give the call. The call must not go to the wrong uh, person in the 80s. The call must go to the proper person. Now, if you are, of course, very much in a place where there is an SMC or ground, of course, the call will go to the, because all these startup, whether it's a startup, actually, it's a type of startup. You are starting up not to depart, but you are starting up to give idle power checkup, or you are starting up the engine. Indirectly, you are asking the ATC for startup permission, whether for a maybe a full throttle at a high power, as you said, high power engine run up at a isolated bay. In that case also, engine startup is required. So whenever you want an engine startup, first you must decide whether that facility is available. I mean, the ground facility is available. If not the ground facilities, definitely the call will go to the tower. Okay, the tower will give, you will go give the call to the tower. And two mandatory things: whenever you give the call to the tower to ask for a startup or to move the aircraft from one bay to another, the always mandatory things which will remain in the call is your call sign of your aircraft. Call sign of your aircraft, irrespective of whether it's moving for say from one bay to another, from one terminal to another. One thing is your call sign should always be there. Secondly, you must always tell the movement from where to where you're moving. Bay number 1 to bay number 5, bay number so and so to so and so, stand number 3 to stand number 7, wherever, from where to where you are going to tow the aircraft or move the aircraft, or from terminal 1 to terminal 2, or terminal 3, terminal 4, whatever at which you are talking about, the particular aerodrome of your in question, airport in question, what airport you are going to do, all these things, whatever airport, the layout of that airport, and what numbers they have given to those terminal buildings, or what identifications to that you must know, and then give the call. But call must go to the proper authority. One thing, call must always go with the call sign, your call sign of the aircraft. And of course, whenever we talk to the ATC, we must take the go ahead first. It may be busy, just take the go ahead. Delhi ground, Air India 109 or whatever, and we will say go ahead. Then say on bay number 1, request taxi or tow the aircraft to bay number 2. Okay, and here only the bay numbers were indicated and the call sign was indicated. That is enough. The ATC will then give you the instruction, tell you what taxiway you to follow to take the aircraft. Okay, they will tell you the path. Just keep on repeating the path to make the ATC sure that you have copied the path correctly or not, because you make a mistake in copying the path correctly also can result in accident on the ground. Apart from that, whenever you are giving an engine startup for say idle power check, or checking the engine or warming up the engine at idle power, or you are doing it at high power at isolated bay, irrespective of that, you must give the call to the proper authority and tell the duration. Okay, engine idle power, engine run up, duration 30 minutes, approximately. Always use the word approximately 30 minutes, or 20 minutes, or 15 minutes, whatever time indication should be given, so that the ATC knows for what time you will be active with your engines on at the isolated bay, or even at the bay. So I hope your query is answered. In your query, what you have given me a lot of questions, 5 or 6 questions, but 5, 6 questions are 5, 6 situations which you've given me. In all such situations, in all these situations, one thing is very common. That is call sign of the aircraft and duration of the ground run to be given, and the bay number from where the aircraft has to move, from one to move, or even from the terminal building. Okay, so from you want to move from the domestic to the international, then you must pick out the terminal location, building. If they have given a specific name to that, then you have to pick out the specific name. All right. And anything else, even if you have more doubts, you can just message me again and I'll clear your doubts. No issue on that. All right. Now, you told me altimeter is set in 2 ways. One is QFE and another is QNH, right? QFE setting. In QFE setting, what happens? We generally use QFE setting in altimeters when we want to do local flying. It is never used for outstation flying. If the origin is different and destination is different, we never set the altimeter to QFE. We always set the altimeter to QFE only and only when we are doing local flying. That is, the origin also is same and destination also is same. Suppose I'm taking off from Mumbai and landing back in Mumbai, then QFE is fine. That is what we do in QFE actually. See, we have a knob on the altimeter, sometimes to the left, some manufacturers give it to the, mostly it is to the left. If we have a small knob in the altimeter, we can adjust the knob. Now to the clockwise, if we adjust the knob to the, if we move the knob to the clockwise direction, the needle will start moving clockwise. All the three will move. Okay. And if you move it anti-clockwise, they will go the reverse way. Anti-clockwise, they will move in the altimeter. Three needles. Okay. Largest, second largest, and the smallest needle. Right. Now, if I want my altimeter to read 0 at that particular aerodrome from where I'm departing and where I plan to come back, then I will keep on moving the knob till all the three needles are centralized on 0. That is 0. That means I'm at 0 feet over that aerodrome, irrespective of what that aerodrome is already at what level from mean sea level. Irrespective of that, I'm at 0. Now I'm flying from 0 feet because I considered this aerodrome to be at 0. Now I take off. After I take off, the altimeter will go clockwise. The needle will start moving 100, 200, 300, 400, 1000, 2000, 3000, 5000. Suppose 5000. Okay, 5000. Now the altimeter is indicating 5000 feet. That 5000 feet is actually from that aerodrome from where you departed, not from mean sea level. It is from the aerodrome which you, because you set the altimeter to read 0. So it is counting from 0 now. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, that way is counting. So when you want to land there itself, it is okay. But suppose you want to go with QFE setting, it's very dangerous. Suppose with QFE setting from Srinagar, I set the altimeter to read 0 and I flew and I saw that my altimeter is reading 5000. That 5000 was from Srinagar aerodrome. Now I want to come and land in Mumbai. Suppose I come to towards Mumbai with QFE setting, and when Mumbai arrives, I start descending, come down. When I start descending down, 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 I see my altimeter is reading 0. My altimeter is reading 0. My altimeter will read 0 when I come down 5000 feet, right? But Mumbai is not at 5000. Mumbai is even more lower. I will find that Mumbai is still maybe 2000, 7000, 8000. I don't know. It is more lower than the 0 of my altimeter because the altimeter winded to 5000, and while coming down, it winded to 5000 back when you took off, and again unwinded itself in the anti-clockwise direction to 5000. That is 0. Okay. From 0 to 5000, 5000 to 0, and unwinded. So it's very dangerous. Then how you land? You don't know how much altitude you are. It is showing 0, but you are not at 0. You are at pretty good altitude over Mumbai, because Mumbai is even lower than Srinagar. So we never fly on QFE setting when going from one origin to another destination, which is at a different level. Okay. So QFE setting of an altimeter, whenever you want to set your altimeter to QFE for local flying, and you must tell the ATC that I have set my altitude to QFE, that is the field elevation. What is the field elevation? I have set my altimeter to that. Okay. But sometimes it is very, suppose you know the field elevation. Suppose I say Srinagar is at about, say, 500 feet. Srinagar is at 500 feet from Mumbai. 500 feet from Mumbai. It is high. 500 feet more high. That is, it is based on a hill, and that is 500 feet high than Mumbai. Now, when I sit on Srinagar, either I can set my altimeter to read 0, or even I can set those needles with the knob. I can set 500 feet when I take off. 500 feet. Now, when I take off from Srinagar, now when it is showing me whatever altitude will be 500, already I've set 500 on that, not 0 but 500 on that. Now it will show 500 plus whatever I am flying. With that setting, I can come and land down in Mumbai. So if I set my subscale to read the pressure of a say a station, which is then converted into 1 millibar is equal to 30 feet, and then that is converted into the distance in feet. Okay, 1 millibar is 30 feet, right? So this is actually potentially very dangerous. Why? We cannot rely on this, because pressure keeps on changing. If I set my altimeter read so and so as per the millibar scale, then the pressure never remains constant in any place. It keeps on changing. So I will never actually try to fly from one place to another at a different destination with QFE. QFE local flying, it's good. Now gradually we come to the next Q code. Then of course I'll come explain QNH also, but as we go as per the sequence, now QNH, you see QNH, if you set the subscale of your altimeter to read so and so hectopascal, the instrument will indicate its elevation of your aircraft where on the ground at dash hour, while flying on QNH report vertical position in feet above mean sea level. Okay, so that is the difference. Whenever you are flying flight levels, that means you are flying with respect to mean sea level. Flight levels are with respect to mean sea level. Like when I say I'm flight level 300, that means I've measured my altimeter reading right from mean sea level. Okay, when I am considering the mean sea level, suppose I'm at Srinagar. And if I considered the Srinagar's elevation was 500 feet from Mumbai, right? So I already set 500 in my altimeter, then took off from Srinagar. Then that will not be a QFE setting, that will be a QNH setting. Only in the case if I had set my altimeter to read 0 at Srinagar, it will be a QFE setting. Now it will be a QNH setting because I have considered the elevation of Srinagar from Mumbai also. That was 500 feet. 500 already set as per on the needles of the altimeter plus whatever altitude is showing. So now it will be, see on QNH setting. Now if I coming back from Srinagar and landing in Mumbai, of course it will show 0 only when I land in Mumbai, because 5,000 it will unwind, and 500 another 500 it will unwind, because that 500 also I have. So actually my altitude is not 5,000, 5,500 from Srinagar. All right, it will be 5,500 from Srinagar. So QNH setting in an altimeter is mostly used when you are flying with respect to mean sea level. That is actually used when we are flying from one destination to another, irrespective of the altitude of the destination. But if you consider the that you are going to land at the same aerodrome and not going to depart at any aerodrome, then of course QFE can be used. But it is very dangerous to use QFE when you are going to some unknown destination whose elevation you don't know really what is the elevation of that destination from mean sea level. Okay, so from QNH setting, we will always set the altimeter to read the mean sea level pressure. Okay, mean sea level pressure, whatever the mean sea level pressure, or you can say you will consider your altitude right from mean sea level onwards. And these are always, this altitude is not actually, we don't call it altitude also, we say flight level. All right, then one more Q code is QTE. QTE is very important. QTE, true bearing of the aircraft, is dash degrees. Now see, all of you must be knowing what is heading. Heading is the direction in which the longitudinal axis of the aircraft is pointing, or the nose of the aircraft is pointing. Nose of the aircraft along with its longitudinal axis, but that is known as the heading of the aircraft. Now, what is bearing? Bearing is just the opposite of heading. Bearing means in heading only one thing is involved, the direction of the aircraft in which the nose is pointing, right? In bearing, two things are involved. Suppose I'm saying my bearing from that hill, is say 40 degrees. Definitely, if I were to come from that hill to me, if I'm not going towards that hill, suppose I was to come back from that hill towards me back again, then it will be 40 degrees. So bearing is from a particular reference, what direction it would have been from that point to come to you. It is like a reciprocal. See, if I say my heading is 040, if my heading, not bearing, if my heading is 040, then if that obstacle is just opposite to me, then my bearing from that will be 040 plus 180, that is 220. 220 will be my bearing from that, because if I go on 40 to come back, it is 220. Okay, so QT, true bearing of the aircraft. That true means we are measuring this bearing with respect to the geographic north, true north or geographic north. Actually, I wanted to tell you one thing. There are three types of norths when we calculate the directions. When I told you there are 360 directions, but they have references in three. The norths are three. One is true north, that is the geographic north. If you are measuring 360 degrees with respect to the north of the earth, then that is true north. If you are measuring magnetic north with respect to a freely suspended magnet, then it is known as the magnetic north. If the same magnet is placed in a compass, and if I'm referring to the magnetic north of that compass, then the 360 directions, if I'm measuring from that, then that is known as the compass north. There are three types of north: true north, magnetic north, and compass north. So in this case, we are referring to the true north, true bearing of the aircraft. That means the direction which the aircraft is with respect to any object is so and so degrees. But with respect to what? Geographic north, that is true bearing. Then we next come to the QDR. Magnetic bearing of the aircraft is so degrees. Now I told you second north is the magnetic north. If I take the north to be the from a freely suspended magnet, if I say this is the north of that magnet and that is the south, okay, north. For reference, I'm taking north. From that magnetic north, so freely suspended magnet, if I take the north of that magnet, 001, 002, whatever directions I'm counting, then plotting whatever direction are from that reference. So they are all magnetic directions. magnetic bearing of the aircraft. Suppose I take an object and say, with respect to the object, my bearing is so and so, but magnetic bearing, not true, but magnetic bearing from that aircraft is QDR. I will say QDR. Okay. And then QDL request is a series of headings. Now, whenever I want, suppose I'm navigationally lost. It happens sometimes that we are navigationally lost because of a faulty navigation system. We get lost. So we don't know. We can ask for radar vectoring also, but radar vectoring and all these things have come in a very recent time. In the good olden times, there was no radar vectoring at all. We could not ask for radar. Was had only one use long back, and that was only to detect enemy aircraft. But now radars are having multi-role. Nowadays, radars are even used, by your SMCs also. So many aerodromes, very busy aerodromes, SMCs are having radar. What they are observing that radar? The ground surface movement of the aircraft. They can see the ground surface movement of the aircraft, only on the ground, surface movement of the aircraft on the ground, who's taxiing, who's on the stand, everything they can have a surveillance of all the ground traffic at very busy aerodrome through a radar. Okay, surveillance radar, that is known as the surveillance radar. Okay, so now here you see request is a series of headings. Now whenever you are lost, apart from radar vectoring, you can ask the ATC, can just give one heading, whatever heading you are flying to, just give one heading, and then as per that they will calculate your rough position wherever you are as per your heading, and they'll give you a series of bearings or headings. Means they'll give you more than one or two directions which you'll have to follow to reach a station, the nearest possible station. They will not to that place which we are talking about, but to any nearest aerodrome. They can give you, like you had asked for a radar vectoring while you were at Alpha Control, but that was radar vectoring. And there also he had asked you, report your heading. So you had said heading so and so. Then he said, okay, now you turn so and so to your left or right, and you will come to this place. Similarly here also, but here the vectoring part is not done. Only directly they'll ask you your heading, and then they will directly, without looking at you in the verbally, they'll ask you your heading, and without looking at you in your radar scope, they'll give you a heading or a bearing which you can follow. Sometimes one heading or one bearing is not enough for you to reach the station. You can ask for another bearing or another heading, so that means you are asking for more than one bearing or more than one heading which will take you to that station. That's why it is known as series of bearings. Suppose you want more than one direction, you want help not only once but more than once, twice or thrice to reach a particular station, then it is you will end up asking for a series of bearings or headings. Bearings, if you want to come to a particular object, he can give you a bearing from that object. You just reciprocal of that, if you calculate, that is the heading. Okay, he may give you bearings or he may give you heading. Headings are direct, you can just follow and go. Bearings, you have to just calculate the reciprocal of that and go. Okay, if he gives you more than one such headings or bearings, then it is a series of bearing, and that is given by the Q code. So now in Q code, what happens now? Suppose I can't tell a station, okay, Mumbai, I am Air India 109, I am so lost, navigationally lost. Kindly give me 2 or 3 bearings which will take me to that station. Instead of saying it's a long sentence, I'll simply say Mumbai Air India 109, request Quebec Delta Lima, request Quebec Delta Lima. When I said Quebec Delta Lima, that means I want a series of bearings or headings. Immediately I'll ask you request heading. Heading 06775, then whatever 080, you will tell your heading, and he'll give you the next series of bearings or headings which you will follow in this station. Because you said request Quebec Delta Lima, immediately understood in what position you are, and that you require help more than once, and he'll give you your. If you require only help once, what type of help you want? You want to have a suppose you want a QTE, only true bearing. You want the true bearing, then you'll say request QTE. Or if you want just to say, if you want only one magnetic bearing, then you say request Quebec Delta Romeo, QDR. So the moment you speak out the Q code, the ATC will know what help, a specific help you want. There is no chance of confusion. It will pinpoint the specific help you want from the ATC, and what exactly what has to be given to you without waste of time. Now, similarly, if you request to the ATC QDM, Quebec Delta, request Quebec Delta Mike, that means magnetic heading to be steered by the aircraft with no wind to make for the station. When there is no wind, zero wind, nil wind conditions, then you can ask for a magnetic heading from the station by just saying just one magnetic heading if you want. Then you can say request QDM, Quebec Delta Mike. See the difference between QDM QDM and QDR. QDR is magnetic bearing, and this is QDM is magnetic heading. But magnetic heading when there is no wind, when there is no wind, you can request for cubic delta Mike. But when there is wind, you cannot request for cubic delta Mike. You can request for cubic delta Romeo. Then he'll give you bearing. He will not give you heading, but he will give you bearing. Whatever bearing he gives you, just apply the opposite to that, and you will get the heading also of that. Okay. Apart from that, we have the QFU. Suppose you are landing, because pilots are not familiar and they have not by-hearted all the runways. Suppose I'm going to a new runway aerodrome. Suppose I'm going to Bangalore for the first time, and I don't know what runway number lies in Bangalore. So simply I will contact the Bangalore Tower or whatever, Bangalore Tower, India 111. Request Quebec Foxtrot uniform. Request Quebec Foxtrot uniform. Quebec Foxtrot uniform stands for the magnetic orientation of runway. Immediately you will reply, Air India 111, Bangalore Tower, Quebec Foxtrot uniform, 110250. That means one direction of runway is 110, another one is 2, whatever. He'll give you the magnetic orientation of the runway, what directions are used in Bangalore, what are the sides of the, because instead of telling Bangalore, say I'm new to the Bangalore and please give me the magnetic heading of your runways, what are the directions of it? It sounds very long, we have to be very short. Just when you want the magnetic orientation of any particular aerodrome of the runway, we just request QFU, request Quebec Foxtrot uniform. All right. So this was your now we'll go to page number 22, and we'll just see on page number 22 what we have to analyze further after this. In page number 22, what we see, see here, there are a lot of phrases and their meaning. There are phrases and meaning. These phrases and meaning will continue till the next page, that is page number 23. But I have not tick marked in this, because in this there is no need to tick mark again. All are important, but don't buy at all. What you do is you match these are exactly the same which I have given in your Viva part 1 also, part 1 in a abbreviation list which I have given. In that also there are phrases and meaning in that. Please tally that whatever tick mark is that, you can tick mark on this also. So they are all same. Okay, they are all same. They are given in 2 places. That's all. The same thing given in 2 places. Even given in our Viva part 1 book also, in the abbreviation list also, and here also it is given in Viva also. But what is important? Same thing is important. What is important in part 1? So part 1, whatever tick marks are there in phrases and meanings, same tick marks you can do here. Like something informant like confirm. I request verification of confirm. We never ask a question answer. Confirm. Then we never say in RT, okay, say tell me what you're telling. We just say go ahead. Okay. Then how do you read? Like this we've already done when we did the radio check. To check our radio, we said what is the readability of my transmission? Instead of saying what is the readability of my transmission, I say how do you read? He will say reading you 5, reading you 4, reading you 3. Then if you not copied something, you just say again. You will say again. Okay, you will say again, and like say again. You will say again. Repeat all or following parts of a last transmission. Say again, and immediately when he replies to you, immediately he will say I say again. That examiner, or he will say I say again, and vice versa. Suppose he has not copied something, he will say again, and you tell him I say again, and repeat the entire message. So listen out on frequency. Now sometimes they will say monitor datis. Monitor datis means you just listen to the datis. Monitor datis, and what you will say immediately, you will say Wilco. You will say Wilco. Okay, this word Wilco is again there in that list also. So you match both the lists. Nearly all the words are and the phrases are same, and most of them actually the not so important ones I have not tick mark. So in your spare time, say knowledge is, as far as that is my personal opinion, knowledge and anything given in a book or textbook is never useless. It's always useful for the knowledge at least. If not, you're using some practical use. Don't think that everything of a practical use also only is useful. Other things are not useful. No. Everything is useful, but first go for the practical thing. What is practically going to come in exam, do that first. When time permits, do the rest also. Okay, I will never tell you to neglect the rest of the abbreviations. And it's always a good practice to be near perfection. Nobody can be perfect, but he can be near perfect. All right. Apart from this page number 22, now we come to page number 26. When you come to page number 26, in page number 26, there is a section which they will never ask you, but something just for your knowledge, I must tell you. See, radio communication speed of radio waves, frequency, and wavelength. Now, no need to know details. Now, see, you must have studied in physics in 10 plus 2 also. What do you mean? What is the definition of frequency? What is frequency? Actually, frequency of anything, what we define frequency is number of cycles per second. Number of cycles per second. Okay, number of cycles per second is called the frequency. Okay. Now, whenever we are talking about radio or RT. So we are talking about radio waves and their frequency. Now, the moment you increase the frequency, whenever you transmit a radio wave, it depends on what frequency you are transmitting the radio. That is speed. What is speed? As you increase the frequency of the radio waves, suppose you are transmitting per second, we said number of cycles per second. In 1 second, instead of 10, if you are transmitting 20, suppose you are transmitting 10 first, 10 radio waves per second, 10 radio waves per second. The path they will travel will be different. Maybe they will travel, but at some speed and 10 cycles. Suppose you make it 20. Suppose your cycles are increased by 20. Then what will happen? The path may remain same, but the wave, the form of wave which the radio waves have taken to travel, the zigzag wave or pattern which the waves have taken, will wavelength will differ, because we actually when we increase the frequency, the wavelength decreases, and when we decrease the frequency, the wavelength increases. This is inversely proportional. Now kindly rejoin.